All right, so I'm going to go through the agenda now for what we're covering. Now, it's important to note that the 12 months of social selling is just that. Every single month, I'm going to be having a different episode and a different topic. So the first one I thought we would cover is how to build your personal and professional brand on LinkedIn. It is a very big, hot topic, and a lot of people, I think, have a lot of potential to get their profile up and running, but I think there's a lot of potential for folks as well. So I'm going to be talking about how your brand is important on LinkedIn and how it affects both your career, but also if you're in sales, it helps that, and any kind of capacity that you're looking to excel in for your career. All right, so our agenda. I'm going to cover a little bit about my background. I think it's important to know where I started and how I got to be in the social selling realm today. So I'm going to be covering my background. I'm going to also be covering why your LinkedIn profile matters. I think a lot of people think it's out there and it doesn't really serve a whole lot of purpose, but I'm going to talk about why it does matter. Then I'm going to be going into quick wins for optimizing your profile. So how can we get your profile up and running quicker, faster, better, and getting more leads if you're in sales, or getting more job hits if you're looking for a new career. We're going to cover best practices for building your brand. A lot of people don't realize that there are some ways that can actually hurt your brand if you do certain things, so we're going to cover that. We're going to talk about content. So where do we start with content? Is it important? Finally, we're going to be doing a LinkedIn makeover live here on the webinar. And then we're going to have this Fitbit drawing, which I know everyone's really excited about. We've got 2 containers filled of everyone's registrations. So one lucky winner will be going home with a Fitbit. So before we head there, if you would like to be considered for a live profile makeover, email me at this address right now with a link to your profile. We're going to be looking, I've got my colleague V, he's going to be monitoring my email, and we're going to find a LinkedIn profile to make over. So if you want to be made over live here on this webinar, email me the link to your profile and you will be considered. So do that now, and at the end, we will choose one person to make over their profile live on the webinar. All right, so let's get started. So my background. I have an interesting background in the essence that I was not always destined to be in sales. I started in the opera field when I was 7. I have studied with world-renowned, famous opera singers all over the world and was conditioned to be an opera singer from a very, very young age. And when I graduated from college, I had a degree in opera, and essentially my parents said, go forth and do great things, and here are all of your bills. Here's your car insurance bill, your health insurance bill, have fun. And I kind of took that as a wake-up call and decided I was going to start networking with all of my friends' fathers and mothers that had jobs. So I was basically networking on LinkedIn before it was even a thing. So this was in 2006. I decided to start sending my resume around, but more importantly, looking on LinkedIn to see who I knew. And the bottom line was that I got introduced to FedEx office in Dallas. So I got an interview there to be an executive assistant to a VP of real estate. And I started my career at FedEx office. So I was an admin. And I knew several years into it that that wasn't the path I wanted to be in, but I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So fast forward a couple years, I decided that I wanted to get into sales. I saw a lot of similarity between sales professionals and musicians in the fact that we're very driven, we're very motivated, and I thought that I could be really good at sales. So I found a company, Bronto Software, in North Carolina, and I courted them, meaning prospected them, for about 9 months to get my first interview in sales. And they finally agreed to have me come in and take an interview, and I got hired. So that's where my sales career started, and that's really where my whole social selling pioneering began. I was looking around and seeing what other folks on the team were doing for prospecting, and I didn't see a ton of success, quick success, so I decided to turn to LinkedIn. And that's really where my whole social selling expertise came to be. So from Bronto, I took that methodology and went to another company called Smarter HQ, which I built an inside sales team, prospecting team that worked specifically on prospecting with LinkedIn and with e-tail insights, which leads me to where I am today. I was very successful at Bronto and Smarter HQ, not only through the LinkedIn channel, but also e-tail insights, which is where I work today. So really excited to be here. Worked here about 3 months now, and it's great because I was a customer of theirs, and now I work for them. So it's been a really fun path. But that's really how I got to where I am today. Sales Connect conference from LinkedIn was in October, and I was asked to speak on stage with Shaquille O'Neal, where I was recognized for the highest social selling index score, which we'll cover later at the conference. And it was really great to be featured that way, but also to understand where we are in the world of social selling. And I think a lot of people don't realize how much potential there is in social selling. So I'm excited to start these 12 months of social selling webinars. So from here, I thought it would be good to talk about why your LinkedIn profile matters. I think a lot of people think it's just for sales professionals, and I'm here to tell you that it's not. It is for all professions. It's for healthcare industry. It could be for just finding a job. It could be for any profession that you're in. Certainly, if you are in sales, I highly recommend using it for prospecting, but if you're not in sales, you can still have an optimal profile that gets you more views and more job opportunities, things of that nature. The reason why your profile matters is it's really a first impression of who you are. So just as you would normally send your resume to somebody, nowadays, a lot of people will say, just look her up on LinkedIn or send me a link to her LinkedIn profile. So I think it's really important when somebody views your profile that it's filled out completely the right way, and it's also, think of it as a first impression. This is the first impression they get of you. So you want to make sure it's thorough and it's got all the details about who you are as a person, but also where you work and what your brand stands for. The second thing is it's really easy to list your accomplishments on your LinkedIn profile. So just as you would in a resume, typically you try to keep a resume 1 to 2 pages, while LinkedIn allows you to have a lot more depth into your profile and add accomplishments. So if you recently were recognized as an MVP award, I would list that on your profile. Also shows if you have grown the company by X%, it's a great opportunity for you to list that in your accomplishments as well. Career highlights, that's another place that allows you to list on your profile what you've done in your career. So not only do you have the companies that you've worked for, but you also can highlight what you did at that company to be successful and what you did for that company to make them successful. And then finally, just think of it as a public resume. Again, I can't tell you how many times I just get a link to somebody's profile when I'm recruiting. I recruited several sales teams, and I did it almost exclusively on LinkedIn. The resume is just collateral on the side, in my opinion, for what I've been hiring for, but the LinkedIn public profile is really your public resume. So think of it as a first impression when you go towards updating your profile. Think of it as a place that anyone can come and view at any given time, and you want to represent yourself. You want to represent the company you work with. So let's talk about quick wins. So these are 4 things that you can leave this webinar today with that you can update immediately. So the first thing, obviously, is a profile picture. A lot of people get it wrong, and some people get it right. The professional photo should not be somebody cropped out of a photo and put into LinkedIn. I definitely think there's a big separation between LinkedIn and Facebook. So whatever your Facebook profile picture is should not necessarily be your LinkedIn profile. So if you don't have the budget to get a professional photo, there are still ways where you can take professional looking like photos. So just think of it as having some sort of nice backdrop where it's just you. You don't want to be cropping somebody out. You don't want to put your wedding photo on there. You don't want to put a picture with Santa Claus on there. You want to keep it professional. So try to aim for the profile picture as your #1 key, and I'll get to why later. The next thing is a strong header. So you can see my header says social selling pioneer and expert, speaker, e-commerce data resource at eTail Insights, and then I have a website listed. So you want to have a lot of call to actions in your header, but also the thing I wanted to point out is that I A/B test my headers a lot. So sometimes I have the word sales in my header, and sometimes I don't. Sometimes I use the word consultant. Sometimes I use the word expert. It really depends on what profession you're in, but for the sales side of things, I also A/B test it to see if using the word sales deters people from talking to me or if it helps. So I would say change it up. I've got a friend that is in sales who changes his header every week and keeps it fresh. So make sure you have a header. I highly recommend you don't just put what your job title is. So if you're a marketing director, I wouldn't just put marketing director at X company. I would put something around what your company offers or who you are or what your expertise are, but I would not just put marketing director at X company. I think there's a lot of room for SEO to pick up these types of language, and you don't want to be at the bottom of the list on a Google search. The next thing is contact and social information. So you can see here, I have my own unique URL. Anyone can get their own unique URL for free. So I think a lot of people miss the boat on this. They can easily go in and have their URL reflect their name. So that's super easy to do. If you go to edit profile, you can go select your URL. And again, quick win. Also, make sure if you have a Twitter handle, you have that listed in your contacts area and your website. A lot of people forget when they leave their last company that their old website is on there. So make sure you are current with your current professional website and your current company's website. And then finally, articles and projects. If you have written articles, which I highly recommend you do, I'm going to get to that later, or if you have projects, you recently were featured in some sort of project at your company where it got a lot of publicity or it was a big initiative for your company, I would list your projects out. It's a really quick way to demonstrate what kind of professional you are and what kind of work that you have done. And it just highlights you as an all-around person with a lot of experience. So, key sections for your profile. There's a really cool way on LinkedIn on the top right of your profile, it'll say what completion percentage you are. So mine says all-star, so I'm like 98% complete profile. I would go off of that, to be honest with you, because it'll tell you if you need more on your profile, if it's filled out or not. But these are the key sections I want to spend some time on. The first one is the summary section. So this is a great way to highlight who you are, what your background has been in, and mention any high-level accomplishments. You don't want to go through every single VP or MVP award you've gotten, and you don't want to go through every single time you've been mentioned. But if you have a specific publication that you want to shout out or specific project that you want the entire, LinkedIn community to know, then mention that in your summary. But really it should be who are you? Who is Lindsay? So in mine, I have a background on myself, so I do mention that I started out in opera and now I'm in sales, and I do mention the companies I've worked with very high level. But you should be able to read my summary and get a good understanding of who I am as a person. Publications, so if you do write publications on LinkedIn, definitely highlight those in your publication section. If you write them through LinkedIn, it'll do it automatically for you. But if you have any videos about any topics that you've covered, whether or not it relates to the company you work for or not. So for instance, I have a lot of social selling videos that I put on my LinkedIn profile. It doesn't necessarily correlate with my current employer, but it can at the same time. So I think it's really important that you don't shy away from adding publications if you think it's not relevant, because it could be. Projects. So have you spoken at a conference, or have you been a part of a big initiative at work? Have you been a guest blogger on somebody else's company's site? That's a place where I would list your project section. And you can also move around what order you want your LinkedIn profile to read. So if you want summary near the bottom, you can. I highly recommend putting the summary at the very top. And then under that, I put my publications and then projects. So I kind of have it in the order I have on this screen. Experience. This is where people get it wrong a lot, like a lot. A lot of people list their positions with their title and that's it. So they were a VP of marketing at X company. That's great. I have no idea what that means. Did they work in the e-commerce side? Did they work in the marketing side? I have no idea what they've done. For an employer, somebody that's looking to recruit you, they have no idea what you've done. But also on the sales side, if you're trying to sell, they have no idea what you've done as well. So I really recommend you filling out key accomplishments and key projects you worked on your experience. It's really easy to do. You can probably just take the job description from your original company, the original job that you had, and copy and paste some of that over. But make sure you use the right tense. I can't tell you how many times I look at people's profiles and I see that they're working at 11 different companies right now based on the tense. So make sure if it's a past company, you list it as past tense. Awards. So don't be shy of listing your awards. If you have won an MVP award, or you've been a part of President's Club, or you've been an Employee of the Year, etc., list that in your awards section, because for people that are in recruiting, they're looking for that. For people that want to understand you and potentially reach out to you on something maybe on the sales side, or reach out to you because of a mutual connection, you have to list these things. They're all great key components for a great profile. And then finally, recommendations. So I start typically with my current colleagues. So people I work with today, I would ask for recommendations just to build up your profile, and then take a step back from the last company you worked with. So see if they would write a recommendation for you, and chances are they will. I've never had anyone say no. And it just helps build rapport. And again, if you're trying to get recruiters to go after you, it's really good to have recommendations because they can see validity in who you are, and it also helps understand who you are as a person, as an outside party. So these are the key sections of your profile that I highly recommend everyone update and consider. So best practices for building your brand. This is probably one of my favorite slides. And it's a very touchy topic because this is on my feed probably at least twice a day. So how many people have seen this photo on their LinkedIn page? Probably a lot. So this is where I want to talk about some best practices for building your brand. It happened to me 5 minutes before I got on this webinar. So the idea behind this photo is you ask to connect with me, I accept, and then 5 minutes later I'm getting some sort of sales pitch or getting some sort of like marketing scam or something not good. So my recommendation really here, and again, it's a very dicey topic, but my recommendation is that you send somebody an in-mail or an email for a warm introduction to them before you start adding people on LinkedIn. If you add a bunch of people on LinkedIn that you don't actually know, then it'll hurt your score, it'll hurt your SSI score, but it'll also hurt your brand, and you could potentially be removed from LinkedIn if you have enough complaints. So I really recommend, if you are in sales or recruiting, that you ask to be introduced to them somehow if you have a mutual connection, or you email them first. And then once you have a two-way dialogue, I recommend connecting with that person. But we don't want LinkedIn to be a place where it's known for a spamming site. I will show you a really great note that I got from somebody that prospected me. So I'll let you read it for a moment, but this was incredibly personal. It showed that they took time to get to know me. They read an article of mine, and they were relevant in what I do and relevant in connecting. So there are right ways to do it. I recommend, if you do have access to send an email, to do that first and then connect later. And while you're reading that, I will just go on one more note to say that, again, Facebook is not equal to LinkedIn. And I think there's a lot of offenders that I see on my page for sure, but it really should be a place for professional business people to live and breathe, not a place to be sharing things that you would see on Facebook. So just to reiterate that again. And again, if anyone has questions, there's a chat feature up here on Join Me. So if you have questions that come in, please ask them. It's meant to be interactive. We're happy to answer questions along the way. So social selling index, that's a hot topic for 2015 and into 2016. When I was presented at the LinkedIn conference for the highest SSI score, I actually didn't know I had the highest SSI score until I was on stage with Shaquille O'Neal. I prospect on LinkedIn. I prospect a lot on LinkedIn. I live on LinkedIn, and I think it's really important to point out what a social selling index score is, even if you aren't in sales. So don't hop off the call yet, because it's not just for salespeople, it's for everybody. Everyone can access their SSI score with that link that I have here on this page. And the quotes on the left are really quotes I took from LinkedIn. It is true, they've done a lot of research on SSI scores and the correlation into how much higher they are likely to get promoted. So don't have to be in sales, but you're more likely to get promoted if you use LinkedIn the right way. It's broken into 4 categories. So the first category is establishing your professional brand, which is what this entire webinar is about. So this is 25% of your score today. And then there'll probably be 11 more webinars, and maybe the other 3 will be a part of the topic. But the other 3 categories are finding the right people, engaging with insights, which we're actually going to talk about in a moment, and building relationships. So everyone has their own score, but I would recommend once you start establishing your professional brand, you'll really see your SSI score increase once you fill out your profile and get all of the necessary items in there. So tips for standing out. I think that a lot of my success with LinkedIn happened organically, meaning I didn't go out into the world and say I'm going to be a social selling expert. A lot of it just happened organically because I prospect on LinkedIn. So when I was asked, how are you successful on LinkedIn, I kind of had to step back and just think, well, I'm just doing what I know and what I know to work. So I put in this slide a lot of the things I think that have helped me have a high SSI score and be successful on LinkedIn and have a lot of profile views. So the first one is I like shares of our current company, my current employer, and I like shares of prospects, and I'll even comment on shares. That doesn't mean every single time you see somebody post something, you're in there commenting. Doesn't mean that, but if something speaks to you, like if something is posted that you want to congratulate somebody on, go for it. Don't be shy of liking content and sharing content. And here again, like content of company and prospects again. So not only are you liking their shares, but any content that they post out on their LinkedIn profile also, I'm all over that, especially if it's somebody I'm prospecting or somebody that's a customer of mine. Congratulate people on accomplishments. So this goes hand in hand. When somebody gets promoted, you want to tell them congratulations. And there's a lot of easy ways now. LinkedIn has made it. You can see on the top right when you log in, you can actually see people that have been promoted recently, and they make it really easy for you to congratulate them and like their promotion. And then posting your own content. I think that was a big thing for me in 2015. I think that was the reason why part of it was why I was selected to speak at LinkedIn's conference and have my own session about in-mails and prospecting on LinkedIn. I've written a lot of articles, and a lot of them are popular in the world of social selling. And so I think posting your content is a really great place to start. If you don't have a topic, what I do is I'll think of something and I write it on my iPhone in the notes section, and I just marinate on it for a couple weeks and see if it's actually a topic that people will think is interesting. And it's not always related to my work. One of my most popular articles is about a woman that didn't say hello to me on the elevator for 5 years. That's one of my most popular topics. So again, just start thinking about what you would want to be talking about in an article, and I think you'd be really surprised how much more your profile is viewed and how much more publicity you're getting for yourself. All right, so engaging and sharing. So this is one of my favorite topics because I think it's really easy to do. You have a feed for a reason, so when you log into LinkedIn, you'll get a lot of notifications on what people are doing. People are being mentioned in articles, things of that nature. But the first thing, engage. Engage is another part of the SSI score, so engaging with your insights. So you want to start commenting and sharing and liking content if it relates to you. again, you don't want to just go out there and do it blindly. You want it to mean something. But if you do see something that intrigues you, talk about it. The next thing is writing. That goes back to the content on publishing some content of your own. I really think it's important. I think it doesn't have to be industry specific. It can be career specific. It could be just because. Some of the most popular articles out there are just because email or articles. So don't think that you have to have a specific topic. A lot of people are in groups. I'm not in groups a ton. I'm a member of groups, but most of my time is spent outside of groups. But there is a huge community of groups that you can go in and participate, get to know each other, find out what other industries are doing, and prospect inside of groups as well. That's been a huge hit. My team at the last company did that a lot and had a lot of success. And it helps build your own brand as well, because once people start seeing you talk more in groups, they get to understand a little bit more about you and what you offer. And then finally, discover. So even if you can't connect with Mark Cuban because he doesn't accept your friend request, you can still follow him. So I follow a lot of industry experts, and I follow a lot of people that really appeal to me and people that I look up to. So I think following folks like that is really inspirational, but it also gives you content of what they're posting as well. So I do have a question that I'm going to address right now. So the question is, I see a handful of connections that must just like the first 15 stories of their newsfeed every day. Besides being overwhelmed with seeing their profile pic over and over, what impact, positive or negative, does it have on your SSI? So my answer to that is it probably has a positive impact on their SSI because they're using a lot of the Engage with Insights feature. So the 25% makes up for that. But what I will say is it's not a best practice to just go through once a day and do like. That doesn't bode well. It sounds like it seems frustrating on your end to see that. I typically check in once an hour on LinkedIn on my feed to see what's engaging to me. So I would recommend spacing it out a little bit more. And again, it goes back to just authenticity. I don't like things that I don't actually like. So I want it to be really thoughtful. When I comment on somebody's photo of their promotion or something like that, it's thoughtful. It's not just because it's on my feed and I need to engage with insights more. Hope that answers your question. Okay, tools on the go. So I travel quite a bit with my job, and in the past I've traveled a lot. I wanted to share some tools that help me prospect and help me keep my brand alive and well on the go. So these are some LinkedIn apps that you can download. There's also some job apps as well from LinkedIn. They're all free. Sales Navigator, the app is free, but you have to have a membership to use Sales Navigator. So that's the only one that you have to pay for. Pulse is great. Pulse has a lot of articles on the go that you can read. And again, it helps your brand when you're commenting on articles that appeal to you, because suddenly people are seeing what interests you and you have more views on your profile. Connected is a little secret that I think a lot of people don't know about. Connected is great for doing a complete overview of who's getting promoted, who's changed jobs, who has anniversaries, and you can simply do it with like one swipe. You can like it or comment on it in one swipe. It's super easy to stay on top of your connections, and I highly recommend that app. The LinkedIn Standard app is great too. I use it often when I'm not at my computer. And those are the top apps for LinkedIn on the go. Okay, so it is LinkedIn makeover time. Do we have some applicants? Fantastic. Okay, so I'm going to pull up a screen here. Looks like we've got one person that wants to be made over. So her name is Kayla Leather. Oops. Kayla. All right. So Kayla, are you with me here? Let's do share. All right. So we're going to look at her profile right now. Kayla, can you comment on the chat box if you're still there? Okay, so we're going to look at Kayla's profile. So first off, I would think I do like the background of her header. I think, okay, great. Kayla's there. I do like the header. I think it looks a little bit busy. And I'm wondering what happens based on what sort of computer you're viewing it in. So if you view it smaller, it might not process as well. So you can see here, it cuts off a little bit. So I might reconsider your header photo just because of different sizes of screens. But I don't think it deters away from your profile at all. Okay, so let's look at heading down there. Okay, so IT technical recruiter at N-tier solutions. So I think having recruiter in your header is great. I would probably add something around what expertise you have in recruiting. I would add potentially what type of recruiting beyond technical, so what types of roles you're hiring for could potentially be in there. Also, I've seen a lot of recruiters do this where they put in their header, I'm hiring. That's gotten a lot of positive feedback from what I have heard in the recruiting world, so maybe try that. You've got your city, state, staffing, recruiting. Looks like you have one publication, so that's great. I would say keep that up, keep doing some more. Your summary, I love how you have an attachment. I'm not sure if the resume is the right attachment though. And the reason I say that is because the idea on LinkedIn is to have this page be your resume. So I'm not sure if having this actually helps any. I would maybe A/B test that and see if you get more views if you remove it. As far as your summary, I would say, let me read through it real quick. I would add some bullet points. Kayla, I would add some bullet points on some different, so you mentioned track records of specific things. Maybe put bullet points around that so you can fill out your summary more. Maybe mention some of the companies that you've worked at that are very specific on what kind of project made you successful. So mention the companies here. Maybe talk about where you started from. So I majored in XYZ and now I'm in this. Talk about being versatile, somebody that is easy to adapt. As far as your current solution, your current company, I like the bullets. I think bullets are necessary for some positions. I really like the bullets here. And it's all in present tense. It's all in present tense, so congratulations there. You've got some recommendations, so that's great. I love how you have what your current company does here. I'm a big fan of that. I think it's great to have what you do here, but then also what your company does underneath is fantastic. So here, I would say if you have jobs that are not relating to what you're doing today, I would delete them. So for instance, if I were you, I would delete the on the border one. I would delete the Appalachian State University role. I would delete Steinmart. And maybe if you do want to keep Appalachian, I would combine these two, Kayla. So combine the student caller and student supervisor just to be one. And then I would start here as your intern. And great job on making it past tense here. Be careful here. I see some present tense items, so I would just be considerate of that. I would also like to see some presentations you may have here, Kayla. So any sort of documentation around what made you successful or any kind of PowerPoints that you put together in your current role, any sort of awards you've gotten, I would add to your IT technical recruiter position because that's the one that you want to beef up the most because it's your current role. Let's scroll down a little bit. So you've got skills, that's great. I didn't even touch upon skills. I think it's important, but I don't think it's important as people think it is. So I'm kind of Switzerland, I'm in the middle somewhere there. Certifications, I think that's fine. I might want to remove this one because it doesn't really relate to the business. Red Cross, maybe keep on there. I would just play around with that. So you've got your school, you've got recommendations, that's fantastic. Got your major. I love that you have that you're magna cum laude. That's really important. I think a lot of people forget to put that if they do have that honor. And let's see, you've got more information. I would add, there's a way you can add some hobbies too. I don't shy away from putting my hobbies in my profile, so maybe you want to consider adding some hobbies. You've got some additional organizations, which I think is great. And you've got quite a few recommendations, so congratulations, that looks great. You've got a lot of connections, you're in groups, and you have influencers. So I think with those edits, I think you'll be off to a great start. Hope that was helpful. Thank you, Kayla, for stepping up. I know it's not easy. All right, great. So let's go back to, we've got some time. I know everyone's really anticipating the Fitbit. So, good, Kayla. I'm glad that you found that helpful and you're making the changes today. Fantastic. So, I think it's time for Fitbit. What do you think? All right, so I have 2 containers here. They're both filled with everyone that has registered up until 2 minutes before the webinar. So everyone's in here. So I have to pick from one. So I'm going to go ahead and pick from this one. You have to be present to win. So if I call your name, you have to comment in the chat box, okay? All right, so the winner is Eric Green from Insight. Eric, are you there? And if you are, you need to chat us, please. Come on, Eric, I hope you're there. Eric Green from Insight, are you present? I have your Fitbit. I have your Fitbit, Eric, are you there? I'm going to give you 2 more seconds. Okay, sorry, Eric, you're not the winner. Next. All right. You're from the other one. All right, Candace Racky from entertainmentcruises.com. Candace, are you present? Please. All right, Candace, I'm going to give you 1 more second and we're going to have to draw somebody else. Redraw. All right. I have a demanding audience. All right, let's try this. Zach Rogers. Wait, who's here? We are here. Okay. Zach Rogers, is Zach Rogers there? From Murphy Tractor. Change your name. All right. So Zach Rogers is not here either. All right, here we go again. Thought this would be easier. We'll know for next time, everyone. All right. Crystal Meinhold from PGI. Crystal, are you there? Come on. Okay, so the names, we have a request to read out the names because their sound was cut out. So Crystal Meinhold, is Crystal there? Okay, so the other one was Eric Green, Zach Rogers, or Candace Racky. Are any of the 4 of you out there? Anyone? I don't think we've hit anybody. I'm going to draw again. This is almost exciting as a Powerball. All right, James Stewart from Cushman. James Stewart. James Stewart, going once. Going twice. James Stewart. Okay, I'm going to draw from this one now. All right. Kelly Lampkin from NetSuite. Wait, did Patrick speak up? There's no Patrick. Kelly, thank you. Kelly, this is for you. Great job, Kelly. I'm so excited that we have a winner after drawing 7 names. Congratulations, Kelly. Very exciting. I hope you like the little guy beneath you cheering you on, because I'm cheering you on. All right, Kelly, we'll put this in the mail for you. All right, before we head out, I want to talk about what is coming next. So this was the first of 12 webinars. The next one is on February 16th at 2 o'clock. I will be discussing trade shows. How many people go to trade shows, and how many people are tasked with setting up meetings before you get to the show and you don't know how to do that? That is what I'm going to be talking about in our next webinar. So how to get scheduled meetings before you even land in that city to get at the trade show. It's a really hot topic. It's a topic that I've been very successful in the past 2 companies I've worked with, and I want to teach you the ropes on how to do it. So in this webinar, you will be able to leave knowing the following things: best practices in successful messaging and how to engage prospects, cadence setting for in-mails and emails, tools to speed up your prospecting process, and then finally, how to leverage your mutual connections and getting 1 or more meetings. So that's the next topic, and yes, there will be another Fitbit in the next webinar, and hopefully it won't take 7 drawings to get to our winner. So I hope everyone has been really excited about this webinar. I know I am. Here's my contact information. Thank you all for all your comments right now. I appreciate it a lot. Feel free to add me on LinkedIn. My email address is below, my phone number is below, and I look forward to the next session in February. We will be sending out this recording to everyone that attended the show today, and we'll also have a link to register for the one in February. So thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.